hockey fans, are you ready to brave the wild? With me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Brave the Wild is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Double Twist. Thank you once again for joining me today. Well, it's been a couple weeks since the season preview. Hope you enjoyed it. Been a couple weeks since the season started. A week's worth of games in terms of 7 games, if you kind of get what I mean. A couple of days off in between, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, my busy schedule doesn't allow me to do weekly shows yet until the fall cleanup season is over, as we're just about to enter that in November. So be aware of that. There will be odd days, rainy days, and Mondays, and all that type of stuff is when the show will come out. After that, it'll be regular on Thursdays, usually starting with Thanksgiving, which is tradition. I always start the show on, I always record on Thanksgiving Day with Brave the Wild, right in the morning while all you are getting ready to do your turkeys and all that good stuff. So just indications on where the show is headed, like it always does every year. So nothing's really changed. Something's changed a little bit. Well, I mean, certain things are the Wild. You see some of the similar tendencies, but now we're like losing every game. And the Minnesota Wild start off the season 1-6. How quaint. Yeah, 1-6. How quaint. And then something that's even more quaint is, yeah, Bruce Boudreau and Jason Zucker. Nothing necessarily between them yet, but maybe there is, because Jason Zucker comes out after the most recent game getting shelled by the Montreal Expos 4-0. I just called them the Montreal Expos because the Washington Nationals are in the World Series for the first time ever and stuff. The Washington Senators used to be the Twins, and yeah, that's been a long time since they've been in the World Series, so good luck to them. I'm actually rooting for them. But let's get to Jason Zucker instead. It's just, you just want to think about something else right now. That's how bad it is. Jason Zucker's quote is, I think more than a meeting is going to have to jumpstart us, to be honest. And of course, a meeting is paraphrasing from Michael Russo, and the article is Wilderness Walk per se. It's going to be each individual guy from Bruce on down. Bruce has got to be better. We've got to be better. Everybody's got to be better. That's it. Bruce has got to be better. Bruce on down. Bruce. So, calling out the coach, are we? Well, that's cute. Yeah. Okay, that's great. At the end of the day, you look at the Minnesota Wild. I mean, is this what Bill Guerin is saying right now?
What a bunch of schmucks.
Because that's what I'm saying, and I think a lot of you have been saying it as well. Maybe some of you that are a little bit more loyal, this and that. You know what? I'm a loyal fan. I've been a fan since the inauguration. And the inauguration wasn't even that long ago in my eyes. To some of you, it's like ancient history. 2000's a long time ago, but to me, I was already a young adult. But point made. I mean, it's okay to say they stink right now, isn't it? And some of us are okay with it because let's get that draft pick. Yay. Unfortunately, again, you got the lottery, so it doesn't guarantee you anything. But, well, if we can get in the top 5, that'd be nice. Michael Russo and others, including Lou Nanne and such, have been talking about it's a really, really, really good draft coming up. Prospects are incredible. So if we can get in the top 5, pretty good chance Minnesota can add yet another good piece here. As the Minnesota Wild's future looks decent, but it looks decent. But what's the theme here? See, I'm not going to come out here and review game by game right now. Plus, it's been 7 games. That would take forever. And that might bore some of you at the same time. We're looking at things here as it's like a state of the Wild in a sense, just how we are. And in some ways, it's a better way to do the show that way anyway, rather than just review game by game. Some shows that go into the games more in detail, other shows that go into this side, like just the general state of the team, certain players, this and that. But it doesn't look good at all. Jared Spurgeon's putting up 4 points, but he's not been the same. I mean, him and Brodin have been nothing less than a disaster of late. They've not been good. I don't know what it is. I'm confused, actually, by that. Marcus Foligno, and yes, Marcus Foligno is one of your leading scorers. Brad Hunt is one of your leading scorers. God bless Brad Hunt. He's been wonderful. I love Brad Hunt, and he's been really good and all that good stuff. 4 points for Brad Hunt in the first 7 games, 2 goals. I mean, hey, not bad, eh? We've had an unsung hero named Victor Bleepin Rask, who's actually been pretty good, and then he got hurt again. Lower body injury, whatever that is, so that's great. Yeah, we know. Lower body injury, and you better be careful. Don't be talking about it. Oh, wait, yeah, Paul Fenda's not the GM anymore, so maybe we can be a little more generous on that one. But here's the thing. The old guys look old, and the young guys look like they don't look good. Jordan Greenway's not real good right now. Zach Parise looks old, but he has scored 2 goals. Yay, that's good. Dumba's got the rocket shot back. It's been good. He started off the season great, but he's made some of those mental lapses that he did earlier. Koivu looks old, and he's got 2 assists. Brodin looks awful, and he's got 1 assist. Gerald Mayhew brought in to rescue things, and of course he scores a goal very late in a 4-1 game, so we made it 4-2, and yeah, that was nice. I like Gerald Mayhew, Gerald Mayhew. He looks wonderful. I think he deserves to be on the Minnesota Wild, but interesting situation. Nick Steeler's never been the same since the Potato situation. Matt Zuccarello looks like he's just okay, and he's pretty expensive. He's looking pretty expensive and stuff. I don't know. Why? Oh, why, Paul? Why? Were we trying to tank secretly? Were we secretly trying to tank even in an era when tanking is not as easy to do? You've had some guys who've stepped up and looked okay. You've had some guys look like horse bleep. I'll try to keep this somewhat family-friendly. Devin Dubnyk's been, well, okay, you want to say it's not his fault, and it just generally isn't his fault. Okay, it's not his fault necessarily. Especially the forwards. Defensively, the wings, the forwards, the top 6, the bottom 6, this 6, that 6, the middle 6, the 6, whatever the hell you want to call them. Okay, I shouldn't go that far. That's kind of bad. It's been awful. I mean, the defense in front of Dubnyk's been bad, and I don't think he's been that great either. And if I'm Bill Guerin, Devin Dubnyk needs a change of scenery. Yes, and it's not because I hate Devin Dubnyk. It's because he needs a change of scenery, and because you can get a lot for this guy. You're not going to get a whole lot for Jordan Greenway right now. Luke Cunning's been good, but not great. Again, Victor Rask's been a positive, per se. They could just go all over the place. Suter, he's been one of the few guys with the points. I mean, your top 3 leading scorers are defensemen, and your next guy is a 4th liner, in Marcus Foligno, who's moved up into other lines. It's gotten kind of weird. Foligno's been on the top line and the second line on occasion because that's how bad it's been, because Bruce has to be better. That's why. Bruce has to be better, Jason. That's right. No assists, but 2 goals for him. One of 9 people, basically, with 2 goals, and that's it. And everyone else with less. Kevin Fiala, whatever, I mean, God bless him. You see the flashes, but you don't see the results. I mean, I could dribble between my legs all night, but miss 15 shots. I mean, yay, I'm great. I'm a great player. That's kind of what it's like at this point. I'm just comparing him to a basketball player, I guess. Yul Eriksson has been solid defensively. He's had chances, but he hasn't finished. Eric Stahl looks like horse shit. Okay, I said it. I swore on the show, okay? Eric Stahl looks like crap. And, well, I don't know. What are you going to get for him right now in a trade? He's -10, 1 assist. He looks slow. He looks old. This team not only doesn't have a top-line center, we don't have a second-line center right now. We don't. It's like 3rd and 4th-line centers. I mean, Luke Cunningham can play center on occasion, but, well, you have, 2 right wingers on the whole bleeping roster. So you better put him at right wing. Lord. It's off to a crappy start. The only good part is, again, you got hope. There is hope in the grapevine and all that. There's hope down the pipeline. Kirill Kaprizov will be on the Minnesota Wild at the end of the season. I mean, I'm making that prediction. It's not really a brave prediction at this point. He's saying he's going to be in the NHL next year. Pavel Burnett, one of my great friends out there from the Czech Republic, who posts on Minnesota Wild Global, and, of course, MNW Prospects, a site we're both a part of, along with Justin Back out there. Great guy. Those guys are wonderful. They post and they keep up. I think they listen to the show still. I don't know, and that's okay. It's up to them if they want to. But there's hope. And, yes, he's been posting about him being Pavel Burnett's been posting about, again, Kirill Kaprizov, through Russian translation, has basically been saying, I will be in the NHL next season. I will be in the NHL next season, which means, yes, Minnesota. He's going to play for the Minnesota Wild next year. So you have that. But who's going to get him the puck? We'll see. The talk is just maybe his center over there in the KHL will be joining him in the trip and becoming a member of the Minnesota Wild. And I think that'd be pretty cool. A lot of the prospects have been doing really well. It's just the current NHL roster, not so much. Not really. I honestly think Carson Soucy's been pretty solid. He doesn't put up offense for anything, and it is what it is. He's a +3. I mean, he's kind of a quiet diamond in the rough, kind of hiding underneath everything as he's a bottom-pairing defenseman in the National Hockey League, but he's been pretty good, and I think he's been better than Nick Steeler so far. Like I keep saying, Nick Steeler's not been the same since the whole Potato situation last year. It's sad. What's going on? I love Nick Steeler. And it looks like a guy that was his counterpart there, a fellow left shot defenseman in Iowa, is looking a little better than him right now. So it just kind of is what it is. Both of them playing for Minnesota teams, of course. Minnesota Duluth in Carson Soucy's case. Unfortunately for him, his last game they lost in the national championship game, but ultimately they've been fantastic ever since. Have been the Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. Ryan Hartman's been adequate, but then he made a dumb mistake in the recent game here against Montreal. Toronto, pardon me. Ryan Donato is awful so far. And people are saying he's just a bottom six guy in the NHL. A lot of people are starting to say that now, that he's really not this scorer. He was just aggressive and shooting the puck, putting the puck on net, but there's not a whole lot else to say. He's putting the puck on net, and sometimes it goes in. Yay, that type of thing. Well, I guess keep shooting, Ryan, and that's where we're at this point with Ryan Donato. Who leads the team with shots on goal? It's Dumba. That's cool. And of course, yes, with that rocket shot, you're going to want that and getting the puck on net. But he's a -9. And again, with the way the games have gone, you're going to be minus a lot because the Wild have been losing every game like 5-2. That's like the average score, 5-2. That is some, yeah, it's bad. It's some garbage. I don't know. I mean, you look all over the place. Jason Zucker. I mean, the team looks slow. The team looks old. The team looks disoriented. The team looks tired of each other. The team looks disinterested. Have I said enough now? Did I offend all of you out there that are wearing those forest green and red shades out there, mixed in with that harvest wheat color? Am I offending all of you, or am I just being honest? I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, we're a last-place team that looks like a last-place team. Well, I mean, one good thing, we have 2 games in hand with the Dallas Stars, and they're only 1 point ahead of us. And a lot of people at Dallas going to, like, West Finals, winning the division, being a big part of things, and they're off to a horrendous start. They're 1-7. So, well, I guess it's not as miserable as we thought. Colorado Avalanche are undefeated so far. They're undefeated in overtime. But they're undefeated in regulation, pardon me. They have 1 overtime loss so far. Blah, blah, blah. We're happy for them. I hate Colorado. I think everybody does. Listening to this show hates Colorado, at least for the most part. Maybe there's an Avalanche fan listening just for getting a couple of yucks listening to me rant about this team right now. But it's too bad. But, I mean, I'm not as pissed off as you might think because there are a lot of pretty good prospects in the system. Some of them are better than others, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about them in segment number 2 and all that. I'm almost tempted to look at them now, but I don't know. We'll preview a couple of games coming up. I'm not going to go crazy with that either, per se, because it's more of, again, looking at the team right now, because it's not like I'm going to be able to, depending on what the weather is, this and that, when I'm able to record. It's not like this is a weekly show at this stage until we get to around Thanksgiving-ish. Maybe earlier if we're really lucky and we get done earlier. So the weekly grind, which is a fun grind, a grind that I love, of this show won't really take place until the cleanups are done, unless I'm really lucky, this and that. So be aware of that. I keep mentioning that. I like Jared Mayhew. I'm glad he's on the NHL roster. I think he's a productive player. He did make a mistake as well down the stretch. That was a kind of a silly mistake, but going after a guy when he didn't need to. But, I mean, it is what it is. He's a guy that... He's a guy that can play in the bottom 6 and still be productive at the NHL level. So, I mean, I agree with Russo. You see it, and he was dominating on the Iowa Wild. Just been fantastic at the end of the day. So that's the good news. There's certain guys. Now, he's not this future piece necessarily, but he could be a part of this team for many years, per se, maybe along with Marcus Foligno down in that bottom 6, bottom 3, per se, on the 4th line. Could be nice, valuable players. Foligno left, and, of course, Mayhew on the right side, which is, again, a position of need. Duh. But, again, there's not the kind of guys that you're going to have lead your franchise. They're just glue guys that can really help and be very popular with the fan base. Like him or not, Jared Spurgeon's here for many years to come, and I like him plenty. It's just off to a crappy start. Brodin could be trade bait, but I think his value is dropping after an awful start, and he's had some bad stretches the last couple of years. Generally speaking, though, an above-average defenseman, we all know that. Parise's untradeable, we know that. Suter's untradeable, we know that. Where else do you go? I mean, I wouldn't trade Spurgeon anyway. I like him. I mean, that would be kind of weird. You sign him to that big contract and you trade him when he might end up being your future captain. On the last episode, I almost made it sound like he's going to be the captain this year, but that's not what I meant, of course. As soon as Koivu's gone, Spurgeon's probably going to be the captain. The only other possibility right now that, he might end up getting an alternate captain is Marcus Foligno, if you can believe that, because he's that kind of guy. I think he could definitely be an alternate captain at the end of the day. But again, he is what he is. He's not a star. He's a valuable glue guy. But you just look at the games, the frustration. Everything's red except the 2-0 win over Ottawa where Stalock was good and Rask scored a goal. I mean, it's nice to see Rask actually being a part of things, actually looking kind of good out there, despite his skating is not real good, but he's actually been fairly productive in the short time he's gotten to play, other than getting scratched the first 4 games of the season and now getting hurt. Oh, God, just can't stand it. 5-2 loss to Nashville on the 3rd of October, 4-2 loss to Colorado. That was actually a pretty good game. But the other thing, the 5-2 loss Winnipeg, games like that, 7-4 loss to Pittsburgh, that's just demolition derby right there. That's awful. A lot of these have been games the Wild have been in, but then they have these awful stretches. That's the other thing which has been crazy, like 3-minute stretches, and it's like boom, boom, boom. And it's like, okay, well, it's been good, guys. Well, better luck next game. Yeah, we'll get them next time. Yeah, let's go. Woohoo! We'll get them next time. Woohoo! So that's kind of where things are right now. I hate to say it. It's crap. I hate this. I hate it. Can I say I hate this? Because I do. It's not fun to watch. It's not a fun product to watch at all. With that said, I mean, let's pass out the awards, and then I think second segment's going to be significantly larger because we're going to look at the prospects. We're going to kind of look at the upcoming games a bit, but I want to look at the future, this and that. More so than the present, because the present just stinks right now. It's safe to say. The Mike Modano Award, now we can say that, because he is part of the Wild now. I can say that easily. The Mike Modano Bill Guerin Award. Yeah, he never... Nope, he never played for the North Stars or the Wild, but he did play for Dallas. Yay. The award's going to go to Brad Hunt, believe it or not. And, Alex Stalock gets honorable mention. You could even say Victor Rask gets an honorable mention. Who would have ever think that name would be associated with the Mike Modano Award on Brave the Wild, but Victor Rask definitely is an honorable mention, along with Alex Stalock, who is solid. Got beat pretty good against Montreal, but it is what it is. I mean, whatever. What are you gonna do? What the hell can you do? What the hell can you do? It's depressing. It really is. And again, I think Dubnyk is a tradable asset. The reason why I'm saying that, again, you're going to get something for him, and maybe a team like Calgary, who's struggling in the net, but is scoring goals like crazy, could use him. Maybe what if Fleury gets hurt and Vegas wants to go to the Cup final, obviously. This is a championship type of season for them, potentially, with all those great players. Somebody like that. Maybe Edmonton. Maybe the Edmonton Oilers come calling for Devin Dubnyk, the former Edmonton Oiler, comes back to rescue that team as they've been off to a really nice start. The goaltending, Mike Smith, we'll see. So we'll see what happens. We're going to actually talk about them upcoming here in a little bit. They've been off to a great start. And I think that's good for hockey. I do. I'm not somebody who's rooting against the Edmonton Oilers. I'm not a Calgary Flames fan who's like anti-Oilers because they're old rivals from back in the day, which is perfectly fine to be that way, I would say. Just like I feel that way about Colorado, where maybe someone in another division out there is like, damn, Colorado's good. Well, yeah, they're good, but I don't like them. The James Tepper Memorial, gosh, it's all over the place, but it's got to go to Eric Stahl. He's just, he is a shell of himself. He's Eric's skeleton, man. He's a skeleton of himself. He's a -10. He's got 1 assist. Slower than sloth and you-know-what. Slower than molasses in January. Slower than a turtle in a snowstorm. Whatever. He's just slow. And slow. He's not been productive. He almost looks hurt out there, honestly. Maybe he is, and I don't know, but he's not the same guy. It's always the fears you come in when a guy's aging in the NHL. Like Danny Heatley went from a guy who was very productive to just nothing. He just went to a complete nothing. It was like, wow, this is depressing. It was really sad. And maybe that's where Eric Stahl is heading. I hope not. I hope I'm way off. And then, boom, there he is. He's got 30 goals at the end of the year. I don't see it happening right now, though. I don't see it happening. He's not playing. He's not the part right now. And it doesn't help that everyone else is stinking, too. Everyone else is stinking, for the most part, as well. Except for Brad Hunt, baby. With that said, we'll take a quick break and look at the prospects, look at some upcoming games, and, look towards the future as best possible. back here on Brave the Wild. Let's preview a few games here. We'll get to 4, I guess, and then look at the prospects and send you off for a little while. Will it be a week? Will it be 2? We'll see. But I'll do my best to keep up as possible until the cleanup season is over. It is what it is, but I love doing this show so much, and I'll keep it coming. It's no fun watching the team right now, but still, it is what it is, and you got to go through this. If you're going to enjoy the good times later, you'll enjoy them much more when you go through these down times, and of course all those mediocre seasons that were mixed in as well. Montreal Canadiens on Sunday, the 20th of October. A little kind of a late afternoon game after the Vikings beat Detroit, hopefully. Hopefully it's going to be a sports Sunday for us all. Carey Price recently shut the Minnesota Wild out. Now we get another chance. I hope Keith Kincaid's in net because he's not real good, but I don't know. The Wild had some weird games against New Jersey last year where Keith Kincaid was hanging around with Corey Schneider. And now they got the other guy. Who cares? Shea Weber put the hurt on Eriksson Ek in the most recent game. A couple of 100-mile-an-hour plus shots into Eriksson Ek, and he's in a boot. And we'll see if Eriksson Ek even gets to play, the poor guy. Jonathan Drouin got hit in the face with a high stick along the way in that game as well. He's up to a great start. Montreal's actually kind of good this year. They're scoring goals. And Carey Price is decent, not great. Carey Price is kind of like Dubnyk in an average year, not a good year for Dubnyk, like 2.79, we'll say below average year. Save percentage, .906. It's crazy to think he's got almost as many wins as the legendary Ken Dryden, him being Carey Price, despite such a lame period of hockey for the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, they haven't been Canadiens. They haven't been an NHL juggernaut for a long time. I mean, they won the Cup in 86, they lost in 89, they won the Cup in 93, and ever since, they've had a couple of runs, but generally speaking, Montreal Canadiens have not been that great. One of the most memorable places in the history of hockey. They're the Boston Celtics of hockey, blah, blah, blah. They're hockey's Mecca, per se. Hockey's Jerusalem, so to speak. It's a bleeping shame that they've been so mediocre over the years. The Wild had a 9-game win streak over this club, so it's always like, we're going to play Montreal, so your eyes would light up. Like, this is cool. I'm excited. And then we get shut out 4-0. So that ended pretty quickly. Unfortunately, Mikey Riley, the former Minnesota Wild and Minnesota Gopher, who lost the national championship game to Union. I'm still not bitter about that. Christian Folin, also the former right shot defenseman from Minnesota, also a part of the Montreal Canadiens. 1 assist in 4 games for him. Mikey Riley, let's just call him Mike Riley, 1 assist in 2 games for him. Shea Weber, 3 assists, blah, 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 but the rocket shot is still coming. Of course, Ryan Suter's former defense pair mate there in Nashville back in the day when they won games but didn't win cups. Brendan Gallagher's been a great factor, 7 points so far. Max Domi, 7 points. Jonathan Drouin, 7 points. Talented team and all that. Talented team where they can score goals, they give up goals, they score goals, they give up goals, and then they shut out Minnesota because Minnesota's scoring just stinks right now. I don't know. I have a sneaky feeling the Wild actually win this one, though. I've got a sneaky feeling the Wild win. Wild are winless at home, and they have 1 win on the road so far. Boy, but we've basically hardly played any home games, and we got destroyed by Pittsburgh at our home opener. This is actually our second home game. The 8th game of the season is only our second home game, so the schedule not very kind to Minnesota. I think the Wild, in the upcoming games here, except maybe with the exception of the Los Angeles Kings on Saturday night in Xcel Energy Center, the Wild might come out of this 2-2. I think very possibly this week upcoming per se, depending on when I'm recording next. It's okay, either way. I think the Wild can beat the Montreal Canadiens. I think they can. It's kind of wishful thinking, but again, the matchup is what it is. Maybe the Wild come out. Maybe they're all motivated after their 10-minute meeting and calling Bruce Boudreau out. Well, either the Wild are going to have at least one good game, or it's going to be a absolute bloodbath. And the Wild lose 7-0 or something, 7-1 back in the Darcy Kemper days when he was just awful before the Wild acquired Devin Dubnyk. Boy, I have a sneaky feeling it's going to be a good, solid game for Minnesota. Something like a surprising game where you actually finally see goals by Minnesota, like a 4-2 type of game. I have a sneaky feeling that's going to happen. Most likely guy to score for Minnesota, I'm going to go with Parise getting his 3rd goal of the season against the Montreal Canadiens, and a 4-2 victory for Minnesota over the Montreal Canadiens on the 20th. Let's keep moving to the Excellent. Dare I say excellent Edmonton Oilers. Hey! And again, this is good for hockey. They have the best power play in the National Hockey League so far. They're 4th in the league in goals. They're 11th in goals against. Solid for Mike Smith. Penalty kill is 5th. They look great. But again, top power play in the league. And all right, Mikko Koskinen and Mike Smith have been shutting people down. It's been a bit of a platoon so far. Koskinen 4-0. 4-0 for Edmonton. 2.21 goals against average. No shutouts for either Smith or Koskinen. Just flat out consistency. So good on the Edmonton Oilers. And this is not bad. And of course, Tippett's a good coach. Yeah, this is a good one. He had some major success with Arizona. Actually got them to the conference finals a few years ago. Actually, it's been a while, hasn't it? That was back in 2012. Shoot. God, that was a while ago. I'm getting old. 2012 was 7 years ago. It's going to be 8 now. 8 seasons ago, per se. My God, I'm getting old. But yeah, he was good with the Arizona team that ended up losing to the Miracle Los Angeles Kings that year. They were the New York Giants of hockey that year. 2007 Giants. But Edmonton looked awesome. They're actually getting good goaltending now, and the scoring has been freaking awesome. And James Neal's back from the dead after a horrendous season in Calgary last year. He went to Calgary. It's like, here they come. And everyone did good except James Neal in Calgary. Everybody did good. I mean, Lindholm was unbelievable. Johnny Gaudreau, blah, blah, blah. Monahan, like Mr. 30-plus goal scorer. It just went on and on. Everybody was scoring for Calgary except James Bleep Neal. And then he goes, along with Mike Smith, over to Edmonton. And, okay, it's looking good. Looking good. After a good start, and go Oilers. Go Oilers, except when they played the Minnesota Wild on Tuesday night. Connor McGretzky with 17 points on the season. Wow, in only 8 games. Connor McGretzky, 12 assists. And Leon Messier Draisaitl is doing great as well. Or is he Yari Curry? Probably more of a Curry in this case. 6 goals, 10 assists for him. Second only by 1 point behind Connor McDavid. And again, James Neal, 9 goals leading the way. A little bit of, he's putting the puck in the net, and that's what he's there for right now with the Edmonton Oilers. Darnell Nurse, who scored one of the big goals that killed the Wild last year in one of those afternoon games, those matinees that were depressing. Pardon me, a sneeze just came up on me there. Thank God for the dump button, we'll call it, the little equal-shaped dump button. We'll call it that. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with 6 points. Still almost a point a game for him. I mean, as quiet as that looks. The Wild would take Ryan Nugent-Hopkins right now. He'd be leading us in scoring. And he's their 6th leading scorer. And he's only 11 points, Stan McDavid, and 6 points, Stan Draisaitl. Yeah, that's how good the Wild are in the scoring department so far this year. But the Edmonton Oilers leading the Pacific Division 7-1. They are having fun. Yes, I know. That's really a cute, quaint little rhyme there. I like the Edmonton Oilers an awful lot. Younger brother, Mikhail Granlund, Marcus Granlund, also part of things, but he's just a -2 in 7 games, and that's it. Adam Larson's only played in 1 game so far. That's unfortunate for the Edmonton Oilers, who recently beat the Detroit Red Wings 2-1. They're on just a tear. Their only loss this year is to the bleeping Blackhawks in United Center, where you got to hear the Chelsea music and stuff. That's always fun. Oilers will play Winnipeg before they play Minnesota. Not a back-to-back situation. We'll see what happens there. Whoever's in that, Mike Smith, Koskinen, whatever it is, Wild are not going to beat the Edmonton Oilers. The Wild are not going to beat the Edmonton Oilers. In fact, I expect something like a 5-2 type of game again. Yes, it's negative, but it is what it is. I mean, it's going to be 5-2, and the Wild stink against Edmonton. With like 1 cute year along the way, the Wild have stunk against Edmonton for a long, long time. Or years ago when the Oilers were pathetic and they had nobody, we'd always lose to Edmonton, or we'd always beat Edmonton per se. Excuse me, that was back in the day. Like, the only way to fix this squeaky machine is oil, that type of thing. And this oil's lethal. We're gonna lose to the Oilers 5-2. It's gonna be bad. Most likely guy to score for Minnesota. Let's go with Spurgeon. I always go with Spurgeon against the Oilers, and he'd better score against the Oilers on the 22nd, 7 p.m. Tuesday night, not national TV. And only that can't be right. Only $34 for the cheapest tickets for that game. To see the Oilers? Are you kidding me? Yeah, this isn't the Oilers back in the day when, let's just leave that alone. In between the Bill Guerin and such eras back in the day. I mean, that's way back, though. Guerin's going back to the early 2000s now. Boy. Let's move on. Nashville Predators, Thursday night. Again, no national game. The next national game will be the day before Halloween, Wednesday the 30th, Minnesota visits St. Louis, the Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues for the first time this year. And, yeah, that probably won't be a win, but who knows? I mean, I'm just being honest. It's a back-to-back situation, too. We'll be in Dallas the night before. Oof, brutal. That's probably after beating the Kings, though, on Saturday night. So, yeah, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. Nashville Predators, they beat up on the Wild pretty bad at the start of the season. I didn't have Nashville doing too great this year. I had them making the playoffs, but not doing a whole lot afterwards. I don't think they are going to win anything, but we'll see. Saros has not been good at all in that. He's 0 for 3, and he's almost giving up 5 goals a game. Where Pekarine's been great. He was awesome against. He's been good. Awesome against Minnesota at the beginning of the season, stopping everything per se. Matt Duchene, nice addition in the offseason. Ryan Ellis, who'd been so disappointing for a while, he's been really good, leading the club in scoring, at least with 8 assists to go with 1 goal. Very solid overall roster. Roman Josi, one of the best defensemen in the NHL. Victor Arvidsson has been fantastic as well. Almost a point a game. Philip Forsberg over a point a game. You could just go on and on. This team drove us crazy. Ryan Johansson with his stupid shootout goals where he literally would stop and not stop. He looks like he's stopping, but he's just barely sliding across the ice at 0.1 miles an hour, which is some of the cheapest crap ever. But hey, it's not against the rules, I guess. It is what it is. Ellis has been good. I think I'm getting him mixed up with Turris, per se. But generally speaking, Nashville's off to a decent start. They're in 3rd place, which is about where I had them, if I remember correctly. I think so. I had St. Louis actually winning the division, Colorado 2nd, Nashville 3rd, Winnipeg missing the playoffs. And, well, they beat the crap out of us, but they have a losing record. Still with 8 points, though. 6 points ahead of the Wild. Whew! Mikhail Granlund did score his first goal against Minnesota back at the beginning of the season. Mattias Ekholm was a wonderful addition to my fantasy team last season. He was decent, and then he just took off. Mikhail Granlund, 4 points in the season, 2 goals, 2 assists, not dazzling anybody so far. We'll see where he winds up in the offseason, or maybe even during the trade deadline. Who knows? It depends on how Nashville's doing, but they're doing okay. They're 4th in the league in goals. They're scoring goals. Their defense and their this and their that. Their penalty kill is 28th in the league. I don't see the Wild beating Nashville, though. It's another road game, and we never win there. We usually beat them here, but we never win there. It's a rowdy place. It's kind of like a college atmosphere. Don't like the way the Wild play in Nashville. I'm going 4-2 again, 3-1. I don't know. Nah, we're going to score goals. Let's say 5-3 type of game. It's going to be a higher scoring game, 5-3, 5-2, 5-3. The Wild will be in it. They'll give up some cheap empty net crap at the end, and we'll get some dumb penalties, and Nashville will take advantage. And if we get to the shootout, good night. We're going to lose, probably. So Wild will not beat the Nashville Predators, but the most likely guy to score for the Minnesota Wild versus the Nashville Predators. Boy, should I go with Zucker? Should I go with Stahl finally scoring at some point this week? Will Stahl score his first goal this week? I think he will. I'll wait on that one, on which game. If you can guess, there's only one left. Nashville Predators. Nashville Predators is going to be... It doesn't even matter, does it? It doesn't even matter. Matt Dumba is going to score against the Nashville Predators, but the Wild lose the game. Saturday the 26th, moving right along as best we can. Minnesota and Los Angeles, both teams that are struggling pretty badly. Jonathan Quick is done. This guy is done. He is freaking done. And it's not just because I'm looking at his numbers. I've been keeping up with this team. I've been keeping up, and I signed Jack Campbell to my fantasy team because he's actually a solid goalie, and nobody wanted him for some reason. People can't see that Jonathan Quick is complete toast. I mean, the injuries took their toll on him the last couple of years, and it's like Nicholas Backstrom all over again, where Backstrom, as good as he was for us, the injuries took their toll on him, and he just couldn't play anymore. And that's Jonathan Quick. I mean, he's given up 7 goals a game, and he was 6 goals, 7 goals, 8 goals. He's just been awful, and they've left him in there the whole time. Even Jack Campbell, he's not spectacular. His save percentage is below 90, which is bad. Jonathan Quick, though, isn't even stopping 80% of his shots. Yeah, he's done. Jonathan Quick is done. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm being honest with you. The Kings are exactly where they probably should be right now, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just the way it is. They're in last place in the Pacific Division. They're 2 points behind they're 2 points behind San Jose, 2 points ahead of the Minnesota Wild, if you can believe it. A lot of the same guys are there from their cup years. Drew Doughty, Dustin Brown, Kopitar. Kovalchuk is playing again. It's just weird to see Ilya Kovalchuk playing on the Kings. That's weird. It's weird. He was out of the league for a while over in Europe, and he's back, and Jeff Carter's hanging around, and Alec Martinez has scored the game-winning goal in the Cup Finals in 2014. And then there's other guys that you don't remember as much, not as memorable. But I think Minnesota gets a rare win. The Kings were recently shut out by the Buffalo Sabres, who've been okay, definitely. The Kings have lost 3 in a row recently. They get to probably lose 3 more in a row before they play us. Calgary, Winnipeg, St. Louis. Oof. Maybe they'll beat the Jets. Maybe. I don't know. But I think the Wild should take care of business against the LA Kings. And if we don't, boy, are we bad. I think the Wild are actually going to go 2-2 this week. And as optimistic as that sounds, these are beatable teams, especially the Kings more than Montreal. It's just the Wild's success rate over Montreal the last, X amount of years has been pretty solid. 4.5 years or whatever, 5 years. They're still 9-1 versus them, so that counts. I think the Wild beat the LA Kings, though. I think we get the job done. Where they're decent. They're mediocre in scoring goals. They give up a ton, obviously. If Jack Campbell's in net, though, I think that stabilizes things, but the Wild still can beat this team. If somehow Jonathan Quick is in net, let's have some fun. Let's just have a party out there, and it's going to be a scoring fest. I think Eric Staal, if he hadn't scored his first goal yet, he will score his first goal by this point. Eric Staal finally does something, and it's against the Los Angeles Kings, one way or another. And the Wild beat the LA Kings, final score 4-3, maybe even 5-3, something like that, because it's just a complete mess. Not only is Quick bad, but the guys in front of him are bad. It's not all on Quick. It's just he's not quick anymore, per se. He's not. Pun partially intended, but not necessary. He's not that quick anymore. It is what it is. So it's an honest assessment of one of the greatest goalies of the last of this generation, seeing him just completely fall off the map, and it's really sad. It's really sad. Maybe he can go to a defensive team and refocus and start over. But maybe that would be sometime next year, though. We'll see if he can refocus and carve out another year or two of his career and finish strong. It's sad because he was just so amazing during those years. And even when they weren't winning the Cup, he was so good still before they started winning the Cup. I remember him so well doing this show pretty much during his whole career. So, well, the show goes back to 2008. Jonathan Quick goes back about that as well, I'd have to say. Yep, 07-08. That was, so right before he played just a couple games. And then, so his career basically started when I started doing Brave the Wild. Cool. That's an honor, if anything. It's sad because Quick was pretty good all the way into 17-18. Still 2.40 for a team in front of him that wasn't that great. But, boy, in 2012, 10 shutouts. Goals against average under 2. I mean, there's the reason why they won the Stanley Cup, man. Oh, man. And he started 69 games that year. So again, probably a little too much, and it just took its toll on him over the years, missing games and after a while getting banged up. But the Wild will beat the Kings 5-3, and Eric Staal will score his first goal if he hadn't by that point. So with that said, let's look at the prospects. And as per usual, as we've been doing for the last few years now, we will start off with the Iowa Wild. Jerry Mayhew, leading the club in scoring, but is now on the Minnesota Wild. Gabriel Dumont, who was acquired in the offseason with Paul Fenton still as GM. As weird as that still sounds, that is so weird. That Paul Fenton did all the free agent signings, yet he's not the GM. That's just so weird. 5 points, 28-year-old veteran. Sam Anas with only 1 goal, but it's very solid. 4 assists, 5 points overall for him. Kyle Rao, one of the only semi-major prospect that's up there on the list so far is Louis Belpedio. It's mostly been veterans here. Sam Anas, you could have called him a prospect a couple of years ago when he was signed from the from Quinnipiac, but he's just been stuck down in the minors. His size doesn't add up. You want to see him get a crack on the power play. I think if the Wild continue to stink, why not give him a chance? And obviously Jerry Mayhew, this and that. And of course, because you can't put Sam Anas on the bottom 6. He has to be in the second line or something like that. Be on some kind of a scoring line to be productive, because it's just not his game. He's a shorter guy, only 5'8". Kyle Rao, same thing. He's a productive minor league player, but he's stuck down there in the AHL because of the same reason down there. Louis Belpedio's got 4 points on the season thus far, which is really nice. Very happy for him so far. He's after a pretty good training camp, he barely didn't make the team. They chose Soucy over him, and Soucy's been good. But Belpedio, again, almost a point a game down there in Iowa. And the Iowa Wild off to a very promising start once again this season. That's cool. Colton Beck hadn't done anything. He's an older guy. 3 assists in last night's victory. Good for him. Brennan Mennel been fairly quiet. He added a couple points, a goal and an assist just last night. So he's now at 3 on the season. Will Biden, nice strong start to the season. Will Bitten. Good start to the season. Sorry, 2 goals there. It's mostly the young guys. Nico Sturm is a guy that should be on the Minnesota Wild. A lot of people believe that. It's just the whole contract situations. You know, if Eric Stahl didn't get re-signed, Nico Sturm would most for sure be on the Minnesota Wild right now. If we didn't re-sign Eric Stahl, or per se if Mikko Koivu wasn't back from the injury right away, this and that. It's sad. Right now, Iowa's not the most impressive place for prospects, but they're winning games. I mean, that's the good part. Sokolov's only gotten in 1 game so far, and yeah, that's really disappointing. Matt Robson, very strong start to his AHL career. Losing in overtime, that's all. Giving up only 1 goal in overtime, so less than a goal a game for him. Pretty damn good. It's too bad. Well, they called it a tie. That's strange, but it's basically an overtime loss. That's what it really is. So, Capo Kakkonen, if I ever get it right, 4-0 so far this season, 2.95 goals against average. Been solid, but no shutouts for either goalie. And very happy with the 2 goaltenders down there in Iowa. I think either one of them could jump in for Minnesota should Devin Dubnyk get traded or injured or whatever. Either one of these guys could jump in and be a nice backup for Dubnyk or Stalock, depending on the situation with what takes place. Capo Kakkonen could be a starting goalie for the Wild in the future, but I think Matt Robson could too. I think Matt Robson could be a starting goalie in the NHL. Believe it or not, as crazy as that might sound, why not? And at bare minimum, could be a really strong backup goaltender for many years. I'm looking forward to seeing what Matt Robson can do long term. I like his quick start. I know it's just 1 bleeping game, but whatever. Nico Sturm has the skills. He's strong. He's solid. I wish he could be on the Minnesota Wild right now. 4th line, 3rd line center. He just, he's a good, solid player. Unfortunately for him, he's a -5 so far in Iowa. So a little bit of a frustrating start for him, despite the success in Iowa, generally speaking. A lot of guys are a minus, which is weird. Mayhew was a +5. Dumont was a +5. Of course, they were on the same line and dominating. Will Biden, same thing there, +4. With a lot of other guys way down there. Kind of weird, but it's just one group of guys kind of leading the way, per se. And other guys out there during bad stretches, which doesn't help, per se. Let's look at the nice, solid start for Matthew Boldy, for Boston College. He's got 1 goal so far in 3 college games for Boston College. So he has his first goal so far for Boston College. 18 years of age, nice future. Really looking forward to what Matt Boldy can bring. University of Connecticut's Vladislav Firstov out of Russia with 3 points already. Good for him. And he's only 18, just like Matt Boldy. In fact, he's 2 months younger than Matt Boldy. And he's got 3 points in the same conference there. University of Connecticut. Good for him. 1 goal, 2 assists for the left winger. Everybody's a bleeping left winger, by the way, just like the state. But we'll move off of that. Hunter Jones, 2nd rounder. We're just going to kind of look at a lot of these guys. I mean, I'm looking forward to what you can get here. Hunter Jones is in the OHL. I thought he was going to be in college, but he still could be. That's just kind of how it goes. They're going to go to a college, and then they go to juniors for a while, and that's just how that works. Then they develop, especially goaltenders. Like Matt Robson is an older guy, per se. Off to a solid start for the Petersboro Petes, which is where he's been the last couple of years. 2.57 goals against average. And he's 8-1. Really, really nice start there, winning like crazy in Petersboro. Adam Beckman, another left winger. Yeah, like 19 billion of those. Very productive for the Spokane Chiefs of the WHL. Not as, just kind of similar to the Everett Silvertips of Connor Dewar last year, who did very well. 13 points, 10 of them assists in the 9 games he's played. Good for him. Matvey Guskov, OHL London Knights. That's a very familiar name. Another Russian. Gotta love that. 5 points in 8 games, 3 of them assists. Keep moving. Marshall Warren. He's also on Boston College, and he's got his first goal as well, just like Matthew Boldy in the 3 games. Good for him. Good early start. Another left shot guy, but good for him. A lot of people like him as a nice, like a sleeper per se in the lower rounds of the draft there. 5th round pick. Nikita Nesterenko, love that name. BCHL, British Columbia Hockey League. 12 points in the 14 games he's been out there for the Chilliwack Chiefs. Rolls right off your tongue. I like it. It does roll right off your tongue. And then Philip Lindbergh, who did well for UMass last season.
1.6 goals against average last year with 4 shutouts. Very nice as a backup goaltender for the national runners-up. Heartbreaking for them, I'm sure. Only 1 goal and he gave up 3, and they did get the win. Did UMass so far? So hopefully Philip Lindbergh, the 7th-round pick, can continue to have a strong season for UMass. Philip Johansson, we'll look at him briefly. He has not started at the moment. Jack McBain, another Boston College guy, only 1 assist so far so still quiet. The big center there. Kovanov's the one to be very excited about so far, but in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. So, I mean, I wish we could get him to a professional league. Unfortunately, it's still in the juniors, but it's major juniors, damn it. And he's dominating Kovanov. He's been absolutely fantastic. 15 points, 5 goals, 10 assists in only 8 games. He's looking to have just a remarkable year. I think he'll get in the hundreds if he's there all season, but you got to get him to a professional league. Connor Dewar is on Iowa, but has not suited up yet. That's frustrating. Sam Henches, again, off to a strong start. 7th-round pick. Another one of those beautiful 7th-round picks for Minnesota over the years. This one was Paul Fenton, not Chuck Fletcher. 3 points in only 2 games, a goal and 2 assists. He's off to a strong start again. A lot of people see Sam Henches as actually one of the better prospects in the Minnesota Wild system, and I tend to agree. He's very productive and very cool to see. Very cool. Damien Giroux's doing pretty well, again, also in the OHL, but it's like, I don't know how excited you can get about the OHL, but I suppose, again, I mean, hey, if a guy's getting well over a point a game, that's good. If they're not, then not so much, where Giroux's way ahead of last year's pace. He had 51 points in 67 games last year. He's already got 17 and only 12, and 11 goals for Damien Giroux. He's actually been off to a wonderful start for the Saginaw Spirit, the Ontario Hockey League. And Boudreau has also been great. Sean Boudreau, another guy who's been up to the task as well. Same type of numbers, but similar numbers. 9 goals, 8 assists in only 11 games. Awesome start for him as well. And that's a right shot guy. So hopefully he can help out in the future for Minnesota. And Mason Shaw's out for the year again. Another ACL. Absolutely heartbreaking. Brandon Duheim is another one. Only 2 points so far in the OHL, but that's okay in 5 games. Brandon Duheim, the former Providence Friar, getting his start in the AHL. He at least he's getting in the games, and that's good. That's really good. And another one, Ivan Lodnia, has not played for Iowa, and he's no longer on the active roster. So, okay, that's disappointing with Ivan Lodnia. I don't know where to go with that guy. It's too bad. Too bad. That draft kind of disappointing, except for Nick Swaney. Nick Swaney. Minnesota Duluth, another one. 3 points. 3 points in only 3 games. Wonderful. 2 goals already for UMD per se. I'm guessing this is his last year with UMD, and off to the. I hope AHL he goes, and maybe there'll be some roster spots available. Hopefully in the AHL. It's there's a lot of veterans there, and they're helpful. But you got to free up some space for these type of guys. Nick Swaney, I think, has a future in the National Hockey League. Can't believe he's 22 already. So I think it's time for him to giddy up. Maybe he can three-peat with UMD first. Unless the Gophers have something to say about it, and I hope they do, but so far they haven't. So we'll see what happens with Nick Swaney. Pretty exciting, though. I mean, Kovanov, it's very, very much looking forward to Kovanov. Boudreau has been freaking awesome. Giroux has been really good. So there's hope for the future. It's frustrating that Connor Dewar, who dominated the WHL last year, hasn't seen the light of day so far in the AHL. Simon Johansson also, that's the other Johansson taken in the draft in 2018 by Paul Fenton. He's definitely been more productive thus far of the two, at least in the points category. He's got 5 points. He's off to a much better pace than last year. Already has half the assists he had in 43 games and only 9 this year. So good start. And he's a +5 versus a -9 last season. Very encouraging. Simon Johansson making some progress. So yeah, guys like Kovanov and Boudreau, guys like that, I just, Kovanov, Boudreau, and Swaney, got to see them in the pros very soon. At least the AHL very, very soon. And of course, let's see how good Matthew Boldy does. He's a big part of the future for Minnesota, boy. I'm telling you. I mean, at least second-line guy behind Kirill Kaprizov at the left-wing position, because they're not going to play on the same line unless that's just how we are. Everybody shoots left. Just everybody shoots left because that's how we are here. Yeah, that's real smart. But Matthew Boldy, hopefully, again, he can pair up with well, not, yeah, he can be on that second line. Maybe he'll be with Kovanov on the second line, or maybe Kovanov really is a top line center. We'll see what happens depending on what goes in the draft. Jack McBain, I don't know. So far, I think we'll be lucky if he's a fourth line center. He might be, I mean, I don't know. He's not off to a good start so far in his collegiate career. Already in his sophomore year, but we'll see. I don't hate him or anything. He's just not been productive. That's all. Big physical guy, but not productive offensively. Or Kovanov, extremely productive. I wish he was a little bit bigger, but well, most of those Russians aren't too tall usually. On occasion they are, but most of the time they're a little shorter, but extremely skilled. So God bless him. We'll see what happens. Maybe Adam Beckman, third line, left winger. Yes, a very productive one. We'll see. But WHL, so I'm not superly ready for that. First off is the other interesting one again. We might have a lot of good left shots, left wingers. That's nothing new, I guess, but good for them. Good start for first off. First off, he's off to 3 points. Yeah, that was funny. But there's hope for the future. And, of course, again, going into the draft this year, Bill Guerin, we'll see how his draft class turns out. And we're probably going to be picking fairly high, depending on the lottery, per se. So that's the hope at this point. It's nice to know that there are guys in the system, in the grapevine, and this and that. Well, grapevine, down the pipeline. That could end up being something someday, including goaltenders, defensemen, everything. So even some centers, believe it or not. Kovanov is the top guy for me at this stage. I hope he ends up being fantastic. We're going to need him in a big way. Simon Johansson, we'll see. Philip Johansson is not suited up yet for Sweden. Must be hurt a bit, unfortunately. Hopefully he can get going, though. A lot of people like his game, but they like his game, like high IQ, solid style, but just not the most productive guy. Kind of an average Joe out there for a 24th overall pick. That's the frustrating part. Thus far for Philip Johansson, the oddest draft pick ever by the oddest general manager ever. With that said, I guess we're going to call it a day and pass out the contact details and such and shout-outs and such. I want to thank Vince Germano, who often retweets the show, at Brave the Wild on Twitter, facebook.com/BraveTheWild.Minnesota. That's a strange situation, but do join the Facebook page. Do join the Twitter account if you could. And also want to encourage you to join MNW Prospects, Facebook.com/MNW Prospects. That is a site I'm a part of. I wish I was more active. I need to be. Just sometimes the schedule is crazy and I can't keep up with it as much as Pavel Bunet and Justin Back are able to. But I deeply appreciate being a part of that website. And I can't thank them enough for having me on board. At the end of the day, Minnesota Wild Global. Minnesota Wild Global is another website I'm proud to be a part of, one of the founding members per se, not an admin or anything, maybe someday, but maybe I don't deserve to be an admin on any of these sites, but I appreciate it, and I'll do the best I can to be a part of things. Minnesota Wild Global, big shout out to them. They're kind enough to allow me to post links to Brave the Wild on that page. Scott Cavendish, the founder of that page, thank him very much. Great guy, awesome guy, and now leading the way, getting that site started up after Minnesota Wild Hardcore is no more. Unfortunately, Jim Adel shut that one down. Not a happy camper at the end there. He was not a happy camper about something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, and I'll leave that as is. It's his business. So just want to thank Scott Cavendish for getting that site started and allowing me to post links to it. With that said, there is multiple ways to get on this show with your voice, which we greatly appreciated. The phone line is 209-736-7877, 209-736-7877. It is a voicemail. Do treat it as such. Mention you're calling in for Brave the Wild. Do your statement, shout-out, comment, question, and opine. Please note it is a 3-minute limit to that one because it is a real voicemail per se. Internet voicemail, but it's voicemail. It works, and it will cut you off after 3 minutes, so be aware of that. The other route is unlimited. It is the audio submission route. There's multiple ways to do that. Use the free voice recording application on any smart device there is, pretty much. Just click record, press record with your finger per se, and treat it like a phone call. Hit stop, save it, and send it to paladinolive@yahoo.com, paladinolive@yahoo.com. Of course, there's other ways to do that. Maybe you have a microphone and a laptop or desktop and use Audacity or whatever other editing/recording software you have. Save it and send it to the same email, paladinolive@yahoo.com. All this information will be in the show description for copy and paste purposes or whatever else you do. greatly appreciated in advance. Would love to hear your voice and mine on this show. Would be awesome. I would then convert the file into an MP3 file if need be, thanks to Zumzar or Converto.com. Want to thank those websites for providing a free service if it's a small enough file, which it always is when it's a recording. They do charge a fee, or you can sign up for membership per se, where you can keep doing it like a monthly fee, whatever, if you're converting large files to something else like M4As to MP3s or this to that, whatever it is. Got to give them a free plug because they give me a free service that helps my show. So that's just how I'm doing it at this stage. With that said, hopefully Minnesota steps up. Hope the prospects especially continue what they're doing, and can't wait to see them suiting up for Minnesota. Can't express my continued frustration with the young guys that should be better, the old guys that shouldn't be here anymore, maybe. I don't know. The young guys that aren't doing anything, Donato, Greenway, Fiala, it's depressing. It's depressing. And I think I've made my point. With that said, we'll talk to you very soon. Hopefully not too long from now. I'm not thinking it'll be that long. Until then, take care, stay warm, stay dry, stay this, stay that, stay safe. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.